What's up guys? So today I'm actually going to go over my CPA exam story, everything I had to go through in order to pass it, to hopefully motivate and encourage some of you guys that are currently going through the exam or are thinking about sitting for it. Alright guys, let's get into it. Alright, just to give you guys a little background about myself, my name is Bryan Carreto and I'm currently a certified public accountant in the state of California, senior auditor at a very large firm in downtown Los Angeles. Alright guys, but before I became a senior auditor and a CPA, today I want to talk about how I got through the exam and how I was able to pass all 4 parts on the first try. Alright guys, so in order to give you guys my CPA exam story, I kind of need to talk about how I was in high school. Okay guys, so backtrack all the way back to 2009. I was a horrible student in high school, okay? When I mean horrible, like I barely graduated. By the grace of God, somehow I was able to get done. When I graduated, I ended up graduating with like a 2.2 maybe. In high school, I pretty much majored in soccer and girls. That was literally my thing. Horrible student, like I said. So by the time I graduated, my dad comes up to me, and he's like, "Hey Bryan, what do you think about doing for a living? What are you gonna do with your life?" I'm like, that's a good question. I don't know. So when I graduated, he was like, "Hey Bryan, you either gonna pay rent and work or you're gonna go to college." I'm like, maybe I should try this college thing out, right? Everyone else is going, I'll just go because everyone else is going, and yeah, I don't want to pay rent. So I end up going to college. So I end up going to a local community college in my area where I always knew I kind of wanted to do something in like the business economics realm. So I was like, you know what? I'll just do business admin, right? So I ended up doing business admin, but it was weird. Something just happened to me in college. Like I changed my whole mentality on just school, work, and just life in general. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna mess around anymore. Like I'm gonna settle down, I'm gonna get this done. So since I ended up choosing business admin, I had to take an accounting class, just like it was like a requirement or a prerequisite, right? So they're like, hey, the guy in the front office is like, "Hey Bryan, you have to take accounting 101. So I was like, okay dude, sure, whatever, like I'll take accounting 101, sounds good. So I go to my first accounting class. I have no idea what accounting is. I know there's like some numbers involved, but other than that, clueless, completely clueless, no idea. So I end up taking my first accounting class. And I'm studying, I'm doing pretty well. I'm actually kind of enjoying it, believe it or not. It's like weirdly enough, like it's one of the few first times in my life at that point going through school where I actually enjoyed like something academic in academia. So the first exam comes up and I'm pretty pumped, I'm pretty excited. Like I said, like I'm understanding the material, I'm enjoying it, like I like it. But it's very challenging at the same time. First exam comes up and I take the exam, and then at the end of the exam, the professor ends up, she's like, "Hey, I wanna congratulate someone, they got 100% on my exam." I'm like, what? What a jerk, like that's messed up, man. Like in my head, I'm like, dude, what an a-hole, right? Like that's not cool. Like how are you gonna set the bar like that? Like all the rest of us are doing horrible. Next guy I know, she's like, "Bryan Carreto." I'm like, what? is there another Bryan in here? So I'm thinking in my head like, what the heck just happened, right? After class, she pulls me aside. She's like, "Hey Bryan, have you ever thought about doing accounting for like a living?" I'm like, or like doing this as a major? I'm like, bro, no, come on, get out of here. Like I'm just doing this class because the person in the front office told me to take this class. Like, no thank you. Thank you, but no thank you. So driving home, I clearly remember, and that was the first time in my life, I was about 19 years old. Someone had told me I was good at something in like school-wise, right? Like I said, like growing up and going through high school, I was a horrible student. Like everyone always told me, like teachers always had to call my parents. Like I was that guy in your class that just talked and talked and talked and talked, right? So I could not stop thinking about that. So I ended up changing my major the next day. I went to school the next day and I'm like, you know what? Let's try this whole accounting thing out. So I ended up choosing accounting as my major, and that's now, fast forward 2 years, I ended up transferring to the university I wanted to. I got stellar grades, super good student now, like I said, I have no idea what happened. So now I'm really excited. I just got my firm offer a year before I graduated, which was like the biggest blessing of life at the time. So now it's June 2014. I had just got my Becker material books. I had just ordered them. And luckily when you work for a large firm or you get a job at a large firm, they end up paying for all your materials to study for the exam, which, like I said, was the biggest blessing of life at that time too, because I was a super broke college student. So now, like most of you, I was super excited. The books finally come in the mail and I'm like, now what? So these things arrived at my doorstep. Like I said, I'm very excited to start studying, but I have no idea how to study. So I start talking to some of my friends that I graduated with. They're like, hey, we're gonna do Becker, which I ended up going with choosing Becker as like my study course. They're like, hey, Becker offers live classes. So I'm like, you know what? And by this time, I was a pretty good student in school. So I'm like, you know what? Let's try these live classes out. All my buddies are going. I'm sure it's gonna work out perfectly for me, right? No. So I end up going to the live classes and it is an absolute train wreck. Like I did horrible. What happens is Becker has these live courses where you go to class, you kind of try to keep up with the material and they'll cover the whole book throughout the course. So I go probably to the first 2 weeks, right? I swear, every single class, I'm completely and utterly lost. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. Everyone is raising their hands like, oh yeah, I got this. And I'm over here with like half a brain. I have no idea what's going on. But like, mind you, I had built a great work ethic by this time, but naturally, like I'm just not a smart dude, right? And then I have no shame in saying that because I make up for that with the amount of work I put into anything I do. But I could not keep up with these guys, right? So I was like, oh my God, I just wasted 2 weeks. So my exam was already scheduled. I had scheduled first the regulation exam. So my exam's already scheduled. I had scheduled it, I think 10 weeks of time from the time I took the live course. I wasted 2 weeks because I went to this live class that all my buddies were like, you have to go, it's super good, like it's for Becker, it's awesome, which that did not work for me whatsoever. So now I go back home, I'm super frustrated, like now I only have 8 weeks to get through like this huge regulation exam, and even in college, like I was not that good at tax. So I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I sat myself down one day and I told myself, Bryan, you are gonna do this. Like you are gonna pass. So somehow, some way, I start going through the material and like through trial and error, a bunch of trial and error, I come up with like a little mini system where I feel like I'm starting to retain the information, I'm understanding it, and I'm just killing it and crushing it on all the exams, like the practice exams that Becker gives. So I'm like, okay, cool, like I'm doing pretty good now. And mind you, while I was studying, there was no girlfriend, there were no friends, no parties, no nothing. Like I made this exam my absolute life. Like that is all I thought about all day. I would literally, and like I said, this is the interim period. This is that period between when I graduated and before I started working full time at my firm, which was I graduated in June 2014, and I was gonna start working November 2014, but like mid-November, right? So I was studying pretty much full time. So that's literally all I thought about, all I did. And like I said, I was applying my system that I will definitely talk about in another video on how I actually to study for the exam. If you guys want me to, go ahead and leave a comment below. I'm going full force on the exam. The exam is now 2 weeks out. I start doing like my last 2 weeks of prep, and now I'm like super pumped, ready to take it. So now the day comes, it's test date. Like I said, I had given up everything. Girlfriends, friends, parties, no family time. Like it was literally the exam and me. So I'm like, there's nothing stopping me, I got this. On my way there, I remember I was listening to the 8 Mile track, Lose Yourself. I was literally, I listened, by the way, I listen to that song every time before every exam. I swear it's the only reason I pass. Anyways, so I listened to that song on the way there. I'm super pumped. And I get there, and what makes it matters even worse, and like I said, mind you, I'm so nervous because I had put so much work into the past 8 weeks. Like I had never worked that hard for something in my life. So I get there, and then Prometri, or like the testing center starts like, they start patting me down, they make me put my fingerprints on there. It's like I'm getting checked in to go to jail or something. So that makes matters even worse, right? So now They check me in, like they like pocket search me, all this good stuff. And I sit down in front of the exam. I'm like, all right, Bryan, you got this. Let's do this. So I open the exam. First testlet pops up. I'm like, Bryan, you got this. 5 questions in, I'm like, Bryan, you're a freaking idiot. Like, you do not got this. I'm so lost. I'm like, every question I'm going through, I'm like, oh my God, what did I study? Like, did I sign up for the wrong exam? Like, you have no idea. So many thoughts start going through my head. Like, I'm so lost. Like, this is like BS. Like, what did I put so much time into studying for? It was a complete disaster, that first testlet. I still remember it till the day, and I'll never forget it, how bad of an experience I had during that first testlet. I go through the first testlet, and at the end of my first testlet, I remember you can take a break in between the testlets. I got up to use the restroom, and I swear to God, I was not gonna go back. Like, I was ready to quit. Like, that was it for me. Like, I was done. I was like, you know what? I'm completely over this exam. It's not meant for me. Like, I'm not smart enough to take it. Like, I literally dedicated my whole life to this exam, the last 8 weeks, and like, I have no idea what I'm doing, right? But, you know, the one thing that kept me going was my parents and how much work I had put into it. I just knew that you know, there's no way that I was gonna do this bad. And I'd rather fail, and I'd rather have said, you know what, I tried and I failed, then I'm just gonna leave the exam right now. So somehow, some way, I convinced myself, like I said, my exam's still going, right? If you guys don't know, the exam, the way it was scheduled, the way it was structured when I took it is, I think there was 3 testlets, which there was a break between each testlet, or you can take a break optionally. You can use the restroom, whatever. And then there's a group of simulations. So mind you, I took the first testlet, horrible experience, really bad. I was gonna fail. I knew for a fact that the CPA was not for me. So, but anyways, like I said, what kept me going was my parents and how bad I had worked for this exam. So I go back to the exam, second testlet. I'm like, all right, Bryan, you know what? If you're gonna fail hard. So I go back, and I'm starting to pick up a little bit momentum, but I'm still completely and utterly lost, so I thought, right? The last 2 testlets, I get through the simulations, which were even more unbearable, believe it or not. So I'm going back, so now I exit exam, I'm done with the first CPA, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Like, I completely failed. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was so discouraged. That was probably the lowest point in my life. I have never felt like such a failure in my life. I swear, it was the worst feeling I ever had in my life. You know, working so hard and just getting hit in the face, like, man, you suck. So I was super discouraged, but mind you, I had scheduled the BEC part of the exam already, I believe, 8 weeks after that initial exam. So here I am. I thought I had failed regulation horribly, like just with flying colors I had failed, and now I'm 8 weeks away from another exam. What's even more embarrassing is that I actually wrote a post on another71.com. I'm actually gonna put a link in the description below so you guys can check out what I wrote after my regulation exam, so you guys don't think I'm making this up. I literally wrote like a sob story of, like, I was pretty much crying on that post. I look back in it and read it, and it just makes me laugh because I couldn't believe how low I had gotten and how sad I was. So now I'm studying for BEC. I'm still applying the same methods I did taking regulation exam, thinking, you know what, if this doesn't work, like, I'm doomed, right? So now I'm 2 weeks out from taking BEC, and exam scores come out for regulation, and oh my God, I passed. I got a 77 on regulation by the grace of, like I said, no idea how I did that. No clue. I was even gonna call like the California Board of Accountancy and be like, hey man, I think you guys switched my score. Like, there's no way I'd pass this exam. But anyways, I'm 2 weeks out from BC. I had passed my first test applying the methods that I had. And now I had such a sense of belief that I can do anything and I can achieve whatever it is I wanted. It gave me such a sense of motivation and so much more of a drive to really push through the last 2 weeks of the BEC prep. So when I took BEC, I went in thinking, like, you know what, I had so much confidence in myself and I knew I was gonna do well. So I left BEC thinking I did pretty good. Long story short, I got a 77. I passed. So now, fast forward, it's November 2014. So like I said, I took my first 2 parts of the exam from the time I graduated, June 2014, to November 2014. So now I'm working full time. I start my job. I put the exam on hold to just focus on work and then get acclimated to, you know, how it is to be in public accounting. And I go through my first busy season, which is a whole nother story in itself. So now it's June 2015 and I start the exam up again. So now that I was working full time and in order to pass the exam, I had to think of a way in order to study and work full time. So what I would do every single day, like it was clockwork, like I never missed a day. I would wake up every day at 4 a.m. I'd wake up every day at 4 a.m. I'd get ready, I'd get dressed, I'd go to a Starbucks that was close to my client or wherever my engagement was at that time, and I'd usually get there about 5 a.m. and I'd study all the way up until 8:45. At 8:45, I would then go to my client, meet my team, and then I would work until I was a staff at the time, so until whatever time they let us go. So if that was at 9, then I would get home at 9 and I'd study till 12. If I got home at 10, I'd study till 12. So regardless of whatever time I got off from work, I would get home and study until midnight. So I did this for the last 2 sections of the exam from about June to about August. I was able to get through the last 2, and like I said, I was waking up every day at 4. I don't ever remember taking a day off from studying. Like, I made it my life. If I wasn't working, I was studying, and that is definitely what made me pass the last 2. And like I said, passing the first 2 and going through those first 2 exams and going through everything I did gave me such a sense of belief that I can do and achieve whatever it is that I put my mind to. And I recommend anyone that's going to school for accounting, please sit for the exam, take it and crush it, because it gave me so many more things other than money or whatever it may be. It gave me just such a sense of belief that I can do anything and achieve anything if I'm willing to work and put in the time. And I really think what made me pass this exam, besides my work ethic and the amount of work I put into it, was my sense of belief in my vision, that I was so committed and I believed it so much that I was gonna be a CPA. I remember even at the end of my flashcards that I would study with, I would sign Bryan Carreto, CPA. So if you're going through the exam right now and you're having a hard time, just remember, if Bryan could pass, anyone could pass. Alright guys, that's going to be it for the video today. I really hope you enjoyed my CPA exam story, and I really hope it motivated you and encouraged you to keep crushing it regardless of whatever you're going through. And also guys, if you like the video, please give the video a thumbs up. Also, subscribe, because I plan on making this channel all about accounting, men's fashion, and lifestyle, where I hope I can answer some of the questions that I had when I was at the end of my college career and also in my beginning years in public accounting. Also guys, please add me on Instagram at Bryan_Carreto, where I post weekly men's fashion inspiration pictures, where hopefully you can find some inspiration behind some of the outfits I compose on there. Alright guys, till next time, work hard, dress well. Peace.